The shapes.
The shapes. Good morning. Welcome back to Screen Junkies Universe, or as we call it, Shapes Junkies Universe, I guess now. As this says, huzzah! It is I, Danielle Radford, ruler of the panel and guide to the SJU Universe. Thank you, Ryan. And with me today, we have got Markeia McCarty. Hello.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Welcome back.
Thanks for coming. Good to see you. We've got us a Joe Starr. We've got us a Billy Business.
Yay!
Proving once again, if they give us free stuff, Joe and I will wear it.
We all look like the chillest Starfleet right now in the office because like everyone's wearing their hoodie.
They're so comfortable.
I think Max suggested we go further and just like depending on what you work on, you have like
different,
stripes and badges on your
Insignia.
sleeve. Yeah,
I would take it.
Yeah.
Engineering.
Yeah.
Medical.
And all the writers are red shirts. All right, so we've got a few things coming up today that we're going to be covering. We're going to be covering some Keanu, of course. J.J. Abrams. How can we not?
Johnny Silverhand.
So exciting. J.J. Abrams is writing a Superman or a superhero comic, and then we've got some fan questions. But first, I wish I had like a cigarette so I could Edward or Murrow this. We have reached day 154 of the Keanu Sans.
Yes.
And now we have learned that Marvel has a Keanu obsession just like the rest of us. This is via Brandon Davis of comicbook.com. Kevin Feige has been all over the press as he plays person at the party who knows the gossip stuff that you don't, teasing fans.
He really does look like he's about to start singing a Christian rock song.
It's like the Messiah.
Cyberpunk.
Look, he was E3 Jesus. So he's been teasing about what's going to be coming at the MCU after Avengers Endgame and Spider-Man Far From Home. So after being rumored about the Eternals, he was asked by Brandon Davis of comicbook.com about big-name actors that might join the MCU one day, and he specifically was asked about Mr. John Wick himself, and Feige confirmed, and he said, we talk to him about almost every film we make, which is a lot of talking. They make a lot of movies, so that's at least like every other month. It's like, Kevin's on the phone again.
Hey.
I feel like he's one of like
We've got this
three
movie
people.
Black Panther coming up. You want to be in it?
I feel like he's one of three people that get offered every movie, whether they're right for it or not. The Rock, Keanu, and Tiffany Haddish. That's why they're in so many
figure it
things.
out.
They just get offered every movie. It's like part of their contract.
I love that
offer me
Kevin
every
Hart
movie.
wasn't on there, but The Rock was.
No, The Rock is every time it's like, we're going to do a biopic of George Washington. The Rock's at the top of our list.
Or Tiffany Haddish.
Or Tiffany Haddish at the top of our list.
I would watch that. Do not act like we would not watch
Kevin Hart
We
is
would
part of
watch
the.
that.
From those three comes their extended family, like a la
Right.
Adam
Yeah.
Sandler. You know, like if you're gonna do Sandler, you're gonna do Spade. Like it's not even really a thing you negotiate. He's
The
just
Rock's
gonna be there.
grown-ups.
Yeah, The Rock, yeah. Each of them, Haddish has a grown-ups crew. Rock has a grown-ups crew.
Look, it's like pork chops and applesauce. You've got The Rock, and then you've got the applesauce. That is Kevin Hart.
I think the trick is Keanu's grown-ups crew is life itself. The possibilities are endless.
You are one of Keanu's grown-ups.
Yeah, and so are you.
The son of
and so are
Abraham.
you. And so are you.
It's like there's few people that can reach like Jeff Goldblum status, but Keanu is there.
Yes.
Yes.
Like his
Yeah.
own status. Seriously, on one hand, we could count the people that are like that epic, that iconic,
Yep.
that
Yeah.
comfortable with themselves.
Yeah.
That charismatic.
But in a positive, beloved way. Because
Right.
I argued it on Movie Fights, and I'll argue it again. We don't love Tom Cruise. We fear and respect him. We love Keanu Reeves. We love Jeff Goldblum.
Tom Cruise is like Old Testament God. And Keanu Reeves clearly is Jesus.
All right, so are we feeling good about Marvel getting in on the year of Keanu? Do we think that this is a good move for them?
Yeah, more Keanu is always a good thing. You know, like always. It's like he's the really great vegetable that's made out of candy and gold. That's what Keanu is.
So he's the potatoes. Like you need the potato, you need
Like
the
a
Keanu.
sweet potato.
Yeah, he's a yam.
Put in everything.
He's a really dope yam.
Good yam.
Yeah.
Hey, what vegetable would you call Keanu?
Clearly, I'm the vegetable expert, which is why I was brought in on today's panel. Thanks for setting me up on that one.
I've seen
he's
you eat
the-
a vegetable.
It was, there was that one time in like November where I was like, oh shit, what is this? How did this sneak past my e-club?
Oh.
Yeah, they put like a leaf of lettuce under my spaghetti one time, and I was like, not okay.
I do like that your E-Club is just a carb box. They just take everything out for you.
What was the question? I don't remember.
Vegetables.
Well, we're talking about, the Keanu and how he winds up pulling everything together. So I will ask you this one, since
Sure.
vegetable questions are off the
Okay.
table. I didn't know it was such a sensitive topic.
It's just one I'm not knowledgeable about.
So what Marvel character do you think he would be a really good fit for?
You accuse me of stealing this from you, but I'd like to say great minds think alike. I feel like he's the only person now that could, if they did a flashback, could be Uncle Ben in a Spider-Man
I like that
movie.
pick.
Because you have to think of two things. One, who would Marissa Tomei be attracted to? Because she's not 80 years old.
No. She's Marissa Tomei.
Yeah.
But also,
Probably still will be when she's 80.
right.
Yeah.
Bless her.
The great power, great responsibility thing, it's now become so tropey that when you hear it, it almost groan-inducing. But the
Yeah.
only person that could deliver it with a 0.5% of earnesty is Keanu Reeves, and I feel like he would twist it just enough where I'd be like, I believe that.
Yeah, and we know that he's going to die, so why are you punching us in the gut right now, Billy?
Yeah, it's like an extra little bit of
Ooh, twisting the knife.
Yeah, but you're like, all right, if Martin Sheen leaves halfway through this movie, I'm fine. But if if you know Keanu's going to go in 10 minutes, you're like, no, you knew what you were doing.
Especially if it's it's like Thomas and Martha Wayne. It's like, we're going to see the alley thing again. We get it, we know. And so I think, you do need that little bit of extra oomph of oh, but it's Keanu.
Look at what a cool uncle he is. Oh, I bet he took him surfing. They used to sit around and watch movies together.
Yeah,
That's how he
they
got all
went
his-
thrifting. They did.
They went
You
thrifting.
know they went
That's where he
thrifting.
got all of his movie references. That's why he's always like, you ever see that really old movie? It's because Keanu showed them all to him. You got
I love movies. I love making them. I love showing them to Peter. I just love movies. No, Uncle Ben.
Uncle Ben, no. What do you got, Markeia?
Oh, I went a bit more old school comics with it because, in Thanos' quest in the Infinity Gauntlet, you go through the elders. You have the Collector, and you actually saw that in Guardians of the Galaxy, played by Benicio del Toro. I want Keanu Reeves to be the gardener, and the gardener is just this really
Which you're
chill
gonna have
dude.
to educate me on.
Yeah, okay.
That's too deep a pull for me.
Come on, Marvel expert, give it to us.
It's this immortal god was custodian of one of the I keep on. There's so many words now. One of the Infinity Gems, Infinity Crystals,
Infinity Stone.
Infinity
Yeah,
Stones.
things. Yep.
Yes,
Vapes.
was custodian of one of those. And he can literally make anything grow. Super zen. Extremely powerful, and it's just chillaxing. I like that the picture pulled is him looking like Moses. That is wow.
We're gonna stay on this Keanu
Wow.
biblical thing.
I know.
Yeah.
It's but extremely spiritual and just a real chill dude. I mean, the iconic answer for Keanu is Silver Surfer. That's one of the things that everybody kept on saying back in the day. But
Galactus.
I'm sure we could bring him because, with the stance that we have right now with the Infinity Stones, I think it's very possible to continue with Infinity Watch type of a deal if that's necessary, and you could toss the gardener in there.
That's great.
I would love him as Surfer too, and if they adapted, it was Dan Slott that did that most recent. With Aurid drawing. That was such a just sweet, nice superhero story. That would be a great Keanu Reeves thing. I'm gonna pick. Remember how bad Iron Fist was? There's only one man that can do triage on Danny Rand, and that's Keanu Reeves.
Oh, that is a great choice.
So I go Iron Fist because at least the dude, it's not just another blonde white dude playing the kung fu guy. But I would also continue the MCU tradition of mentor-mentee with going Scott Lang instead of Hank Pym, and I would go ahead and set him up in the position that he's been doing this for a while. And just go ahead and because Matt Fraction when he did the comic, he set up the idea. It's been a really cool legacy.
Oh yeah, it dated all the way back. There was a pirate queen that was
she was
Iron
dope.
Fist.
Yeah.
She was amazing.
She put the
had,
in a bow and arrow. Yeah, it was so sick.
Yeah, it's great.
Just to continue our spirituality and weird Avatar stuff with Keanu Reeves. Yeah, I think you go ahead and set it up that he's been doing this for a while and he's training someone else because I also like the meta-ness of Keanu Reeves now teaching the next generation about spoons and the lack thereof, as opposed to like learning metaphysics from somebody else. I think that'd be fun.
That's great. Now, continuing with this side of the table's tragedy thoughts, I was thinking that he would make a really good Doc Connors / Lizard for Spider-Man. Someone who is, again, like a teacher, and he's someone that Peter winds up connecting to in a big way. He he turns into the Lizard because of this tragic accident, and he's always trying to fight that lizard part of himself and get back to being Doc Connors. And again, the power of Keanu means that you're automatically going to care about him, and you're going to care about this tragedy of him accidentally turning himself into a big chomping green lizard monster.
That gets us close to a Michael Keaton Keanu scene together, or at least
wrong with that.
Have they ever been in a movie together?
I don't know.
Damn!
He's not other side of the country. Where are you when we need you, Dan?
Yeah, that was what was missing. Well, there was a lot of things wrong with Amazing Spider-Man, but it's like I never really bought the tragedy of the lizard. And I thought that that's where they were going to go with the Tobey Maguire ones, because they had put that guy in there for like a couple movies at that point.
Yeah, every now and then he just walked by in the background going, "My arm!" And you're like, "Here it comes." And then
it never comes.
Yeah,
No,
it never
it's just
happens.
like, oh, what an interesting... if you didn't know, you'd be like, what an interesting choice. Just a one-armed teacher, I guess.
Yeah,
I
sure.
guess that's neat.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, I'm with you. I think if you have Keanu, you've already got the audience to you have a built-in sympathy meter for him.
Yeah.
So
He
then
turns vulnerability into strength.
So you exploit it 100%.
Yep.
You have to make him a tragic character because you've already won the audience over before the movie starts.
Yep, and then this would make you actually care about the lizard, which he's one of my favorite of the Spider-Man villains because I always like that kind of oh, I'm a villain, but I'm a good dude, kind of.
Yeah.
But then chomp chomp.
But I definitely wouldn't. I don't think I'd have him be like a protagonist or like a Wolverine or something like that. Simply because I think, especially with the new phase, with so much of the old guard out, I think you need some established people to now put over a next generation.
Yeah.
For the next phases, I think you need to bring
usher it in.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
You need to bring in some heavy hitters to be here's Ironheart, here's a young Luke Cage, or
so put over for the people who aren't at this table who are really into wrestling is a wrestling term that means to build someone up and make them seem important.
Yeah.
What a wrestling panel. Let's just stop talking about this. Let's talk about AEW.
Now I want an Ironheart to cut a promo.
Yes. Well, so speaking of this...
Keanu and Michael Keaton have been in a movie together.
What?
1993's Much Ado About Nothing.
1993's Much Ado About Nothing gave us our Keaton and our Keanu. That is pretty...
And let's get it
That
back.
is such a deep pull. Now that Synapse is connected,
Right.
and I'm remembering... Yeah.
I forgot he was even in that. I forgot he was even in
That
Much Ado.
That was
Pete
soft
Keaton, too.
focus.
That was
and-
Peyton. That
Yeah.
was Peyton.
Ooh. Keaton was the gravedigger, in that. Yes.
I was...
Yeah.
I
It's
had
been
to
a
watch
while.
it
Because I
when
remember
was a
him
kid,
being a
Constable.
local constable.
I mean, it was no
Okay.
multiplicity.
All right.
It was no
It was
multiplicity.
no multiplicity.
It's been a long
but-
time, literally just going through every theater class I ever took where
Yeah,
at some
exactly.
point someone was like, now you're going to watch a movie. And
Ours was always the Romeo and Juliet, where they would have to fast forward through that one scene. So now, but thank you, Markeia, for bringing this up. So now that it looks like they're also starting to cater to some big stars, but like Joe says, it seems like they're not going to be doing as many as sort of these big leads. Who else would you want to see come in and do a character, and who would you like to have play them? For me, since you said Ironheart, I know this isn't a huge actor, but I think Marseille Martin from Blackish would be the perfect Ironheart. If you've ever seen Blackish, she plays Diane. She's very smart alecky. The character herself is, but also Marseille Martin is incredibly smart. She's like the youngest producer of all time. She produced that movie Little that she was in. She's a fantastic actress. I think that she would be my Ironheart. What do y'all got?
Well, I've got two choices: The Rock and Tiffany Haddish.
I got to bring them in.
I had to do the callback. I had to. But no, for serious, The Rock. No, I mean literally, that is one of the ones. Well, I want Denzel Washington. I know that's a really big pull. Especially for more superhero movies, because he's basically a superhero already.
Right.
I mean, you've seen, was it The Ejector? What was it? What was the the ejectionist. No.
The lethalizer. The enforcer.
The enforcer?
The equalizer.
Guys, we got it. We
I
learned
really
how
like
these
the
work.
injector. That sounds like a crazy dentist or doctor or something.
But I would love for that character, kind of that I'm retired, but I've been pulled back into the life, to put that in like the MCU. Like maybe set him up as a possible SHIELD liaison in like Black Panther 2 kind of a thing. Or just something. Just utilize Denzel in some way.
I think he'd be a great bishop.
Oh, he'd be an amazing
Like just
bishop.
like wary, come back from the future, everything is messed up. Oh no, what happened? You know, I think he'd be really good at that. What do you got, Billy?
Here's the thing, like, I guess it would have to be like a side character, because I feel like where the MCU really did its best work was not casting someone distracting, like, in their big roles. Like, Evans wasn't that big of a deal back then. He was like the fire guy from Fantastic Four. You know what I mean? Like,
we all kind of went, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was actually in his credits, the fire guy.
The fire guy.
Yeah.
If I had to choose someone, actually, can I kind of cheat and bring back someone that they're never going to use ever again?
Cheat,
and
because
it's
I actually
gonna-
had one of those as well.
Sure.
Bring back the guy who was gonna be the leader. What's his name? Tim from Incredible Hulk, and like you see his head bubbling, and you're like, oh, he's gonna be the leader. Doc Samson.
Yes, he was the guy from Brother, Where Art Thou?
Yeah.
Incredible Hulk.
Tim Roth.
Nope. Tim Roth was in that.
Tim Roth was the
Abomination.
But no, like he goes to
really
the guy
blew
he's
it.
been talking to the entire time, and then he like tries to like control the Hulk, and then the army comes and swarms the place.
Yeah.
And he
Daniel Stern.
Yep.
And he becomes
Tim Blake. Is it Tim Blake?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect.
So I don't know, like I remember because there was like a Hulk cartoon that was around the same time as like X-Men the animated series and everything. Like the leader was like the big villain
the
for
dude,
him.
yeah.
I was like, oh cool, they're like setting this up. Like you see him like on the ground and his forehead's bubbling. You're like, oh, it's gonna happen. And
So
then
if you
you're
guys
like,
don't know the leader got a big old head.
huge hit.
That's his power.
It's like
Big old
the
head.
Green
It's like
Lantern
MT
guy, but not quite as bad.
Or MTV's The Head.
Head.
Oh, Liquid Television.
Yeah, anyway, sorry. Like, I really like Incredible Hulk, and I feel like they tiptoe, like, around it. I'm like, no, just, like, take
just
the
run
stuff,
with it.
take the
Yeah.
stuff that was cool out
Yeah.
of it. Bring back Liv Tyler. What happened to
Yeah,
Liv
you
Tyler?
brought back Ross.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, they did.
Yeah.
They certainly did.
Yeah, so it's not like it doesn't completely exist. They reference Harlem and the Avengers. What happened? Bring back Liv Tyler and bubbly head leader.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
That's
know.
what I want.
I mean,
Yeah.
Bruce
This is the
Bruce
era
needs a
of big dumb heads. We get big dumb heads in Aquaman. We get big dumb heads in Mysterio. Like, I want to usher in the era of big dumb heads in comic book movies.
Let's embrace them.
hashtag big dumb heads, you guys.
Embrace those big dumb heads.
What are you thinking, JoJo Bear?
I have a few. People roll their eyes because I was shouting about them again yesterday because they announced some Wheel of Time casting, and so I was talking about Justice Smith again. But he's from
love him.
The Get Down, and
Yeah,
he did a
love
great
him.
job screaming and being a dork
Detective
in Jurassic World and Detective Pikachu. He's my Cyclops. I think.
He'd make Cyclops interesting.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
yeah, it's
Still
like-
young, because I also think the
Boring.
X-Men need to come in young looking. Like
Yep.
they need to come in like as kids in a school.
I think we should just put the X-Men back in the box.
Oh, agree.
And then just,
Agreed.
put it over there on the shelf for a while.
Agreed.
for sure.
But also
You
that
know.
kid's not going to age, so like
He's really not.
yeah, he'll still play 18 when he's 30. It's fine. I've been reading Champions, and what's the Vision's daughter's name? I think is it
Vision's
just
daughters.
Vision? I think they just call her Viz.
I always mess that up because I forget. I mix it up with like the Scarlet Witch and their fake kids.
Yeah,
so I
no,
can never
but,
remember.
It's like there's
Say
different.
again?
Vivian?
Vivian, thank you.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
I have Maisie Williams for Vivian.
Ooh.
I think could be fun. And then
Probably because was it New Avengers isn't coming out anytime soon.
And New
yeah,
Mutants.
New
yeah,
Mutants, thank you.
That's going
user-
straight
yeah,
to
user somewhere.
Disney Plus.
Yeah, that's going to
You know
streaming.
what? I would totally watch it on Disney Plus.
Yeah, on Disney Plus, I would watch it.
And then
What a ringing endorsement. I would watch that for free at home on my couch and
Yeah.
chunks.
hey, it's not free. It's $7 a month. And then from Cobra Kai, Shola Maraduena, he is the lead. I would have him play Nova. He was made to play Nova. I think enough people have been yelling it on Twitter that he's even like poked at Marvel a couple of times. Like, how do I do this? Yeah, Shola's great, and that kid's gonna be a star pretty soon. So they might as well jump on it.
You know, it would make a great Namor, Daniel Day Kim.
Yes.
You're so close to like, how would Daniel Day-Lewis get into like, would he just spend like a month underwater?
Because even in my head, I heard Lewis. You know who I mean.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
From Lost, right?
From Always Be My Maybe.
Yeah, he was in Always Be My Maybe recently. Yeah, he's in tons of. Yeah, I think
he's
Lost
in a lot of things.
Was he on Miami Vice?
No, it was
pretty
Hawaii
sure everyone was
Five-O.
on. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, that's what I was. That was my Daniel Day-Lewis, Daniel Day Kim. This is my
he's a
Miami
good
That would be
boy.
a
Vice.
sexy Namor. Is exactly what we need.
Yep.
We do need that.
And Black Panther too.
So, and what I was thinking of is, again, if they decided they want
Lewis,
to,
not so much.
if they decided they wanted to touch this again, I think Anne Hathaway would be a great Jessica Jones. Maybe something a little closer to the comic book version, just because based on like what she did in Colossal. If you take that performance where she's this person kind of struggling with her own powers and like her alcoholism and her life falling apart, I think that she would do a really good job as Jessica Jones. But also,
I've not thought about that. Yeah, I'm into that.
Yeah, I liked the TV show Jessica Jones. I really liked the comic book. So
I've never
nice to
understood
kinda
when
get
we,
back
as
to-
a society, decided we did not like her either. So I'm down for more.
Did she
Anne
do
Hathaway.
something?
I think
Was
it
she
was the
mean to
Oscars.
somebody?
I think
She
the
was-
Oscars was the exact
Did she
moment.
not leave a tip somewhere?
She was just, she's
Sometimes.
too.
Yeah.
It's that thing that we do, especially with actresses, where we love you, we love you, we love you, and then the hard fall comes. It's like when we all love Jennifer Lawrence, and then finally one person on Twitter was like, if I have to watch her
Yeah.
trip one more time, and then everyone was like, oh, thank you, I'm over it too, and then the tide turns.
Yeah, you know how like Leto can just throw condoms at people, and
Oh my
everyone's
God.
like, "Do you want more jobs as a vampire?" Like, she can not smile once, and everyone's like, "I think she's probably a bitch."
And then she sucks. Did you see the way that she answered that interview about that time that embarrassing thing happened
She
to her?
like saved Ocean's 8 for me. Like Anne Hathaway
I agree.
turned that movie around. Like the minute she came in, it was like injected with the personality. It just wasn't quite hitting for me at that point.
Yeah, I agree.
She's good.
Princess Diaries 2 is
She
also
good.
pretty dope.
It's pretty great.
Yeah, more love.
Yeah,
for her.
I've enjoyed her work. Did you see the remake of Dirty Rotten Scoundrels?
I didn't even know it was out. It just like
yeah.
came and went.
Yeah, it was it her and Melissa McCarthy?
No, it was
No,
Rebel
her
Wilson.
Her and
Rebel
Rebel Wilson.
Wilson, yeah.
Thank you.
I mean,
I'm offended for fat ladies.
I apologize. I apologize.
We don't all look alike.
If it helps any, I confused Daniel Day-Lewis with Daniel Day-Kim. So,
that's fair.
but only in my head. I didn't say it out loud.
Like the other week, I realized that all the directors named Gareth are actually different people. I had no idea.
And you figured
I had
that
no
out on
idea.
the air, which was the best
Yeah, it was
part.
great. We did that in real time.
Excellent.
That's great.
Yeah,
I
but
belong
yeah,
here.
it's a fun movie. I thought it was a fun remake. I thought it hit everything that it needed to. So I mean, if you see it on Netflix or something,
You don't have to at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just kind of came and went.
Look, nothing but respect for my Princess Diaries. I'm in.
Nothing but respect. So we've got a couple of fan questions just to kind of round out this section. One of them is from Josie Grace, who asks, in honor of Keanu Reeves' turn in Always Be My Maybe, watch that movie that is on Netflix. You get on that. What are your favorite appearances on screen of actors playing yourself or themselves, or your least favorite?
Actors playing me.
Well, now I'm going to do that. Now I'm just going to do all of. I'm going to go back to Vine. I'm going to make Vine a thing, and I'm just going to do Vines of Joe Starr. So for me, this is a really, really weird one because it's not a good movie. I'm tickled pink by Tom Petty and the Postman because they hint that it's supposed to be Tom Petty, but they don't actually tell you it's Tom Petty. And so what happens is Kevin Costner in another like weird post-apocalyptic movie that don't make no sense. He goes to a bridge town, and the guy there is like, "Hey man, like we're a bridge town, and you can't bring no guns." And the postman goes, "Hey, I think I know you. I think you're famous." And Tom Petty's like, "I'm not really famous. I was once," and almost winks, but then doesn't. And then when he finds out that Kevin Costner is the postman, he goes, "Nah, you're the famous one."
Oh, God.
And it's fantastic.
Yes. And if you want to hear me scream about this very subject more, you can buy Joe Starr Heroic Effort, available now on iTunes or wherever stand-up comedy albums are. But here's...
Give it to me.
It's the post-apocalypse. And Tom Petty doesn't look older. So it's like, did you did you finish like recording Learning to Fly and then the bomb fell? Like when in the future is this? Like,
I love that you're trying to make sense out of the
so
Postman. I love that so much.
So
It's like that Kevin Costner era where it was just like, I'm going to do all these apocalypse movies. We're going to start in the middle.
Yeah. Well, so I did look it up because I also didn't understand that nonsense. Apparently, The Postman happens in the future of like 6 years ago. It happens in 2013.
Okay.
So maybe. He's still not convinced.
I don't know. Yeah. Oh, that's a good one though. It's so stupid.
It's so stupid. I love it so much.
Peak Costner vanity.
It really.
Like, I know you're famous. I was once, and then he's like, cut. Yes, like people are gonna love it. Yeah, high five. Self-Kev 5.
Okay. And then this is where Tom Petty tells me that I'm the famous one.
Yeah.
So good. Markeia, what do you got?
This is a hard pull for me, actually. You know, like celebrities playing themselves. I mean, the first one I thought of was John Malkovich and being John Malkovich, where it's just like I enjoy a movie where it's like you are yourself the entire time. That's really awesome. And then the second one that I thought of, and I don't know why, but it's stuck in my head. Did any of you watch Juanita on Netflix? No one. Okay.
No.
It's an Alfre Woodard vehicle, and it's all about like coming of age. Even though she's like older, she's raised her kids, starting to help them raise theirs. She's like, you know what? Nope. I'm cutting loose. I'm getting on a bus and wherever it takes me. And
wife, watch this. I know what this is now.
Yeah. In that, Blair Underwood plays himself as a dream version that Juanita, is like when she has time to herself. She thinks
That's a great euphemism.
of Blair Underwood.
I'm gonna use that one.
So, but it's just like he was like, oh yeah, Blair Underwood, oh sexy, and like, hey, can I borrow $5? And it's just like. I loved it. So yeah, that stuck in my head.
That's great. Sexy gyrating Blair Underwood topic.
I think one of my all-time favorite comedies, it's a newer movie, but This Is the End.
Yeah.
I think it just took me by surprise.
Yeah.
And I think the standouts for me are Jonah Hill, who just like totally plays up what a dick he probably is. He's like, dear God, it's me, Jonah Hill. Moneyball. And then Danny McBride. Danny McBride steals that entire movie, and I want to believe that's how he actually is, even though he's terrible. But when he like takes that gun, he puts it in his mouth, he's like, just kill me then. That's what I thought, nerd. They're all just playing like the worst.
Yeah, like
There's
Michael
a weird
Cera
line
was in
for
that.
him.
Right?
Oh,
Yeah, definitely playing himself.
Michael Cera.
100% accurate. It
Get
has to
slapped
be.
by Rihanna, which was amazing.
Yeah.
Everyone, yeah.
McBride's one where I'm always like, this is just like 80% you. Like everything he's ever done, I'm just like, Like even way back with Foot Fist Way, which if you've never seen it is so good. It's like he's a small town taekwondo instructor.
Of course he is.
It's so. You know how their stuff together has evolved, and it's more like funny than bleak a lot of the time. Now this one's just like, no man, bleak, down your throat.
Into it.
But even that, you're just like, this is just this dude on camera. Like Malkovich is the same way. Like where it's like if he did that Danny McBride thing, you're just like, this is just Danny McBride. Same as Malkovich.
If you have the Blu-ray of This Is the End, I think the funniest scene in the movie is where Franco gets mad because there's stuff on his adult magazine and they argue. But if you watch the
Spending some time alone on his adult magazine.
He's like, I'm going to bed, no one come in here now. There's about 12 minutes of just unbroken takes because they just couldn't do it because they were laughing so hard. And if you watch the movie, the final cut, whenever they cut to Franco on the balcony, that shot, from behind you see Seth Rogen and he's just, his shoulders are going up and down because he can't, like they just could not cut around it because McBride takes it so seriously that he's like, I'm going to do it so hard. It's the best scene in a comedy for my money.
Oh, that's great. And so there's also a follow-up to this. What celebrity should appear in the MCU as themselves? Mine is Beyonce, just because I imagine her, like, when we talk about tall Oprah, I imagine her just coming in as tall Beyonce. She's not Galactus. She isn't anyone else. She just exists in the cosmos, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's Beyonce," and then she walks by with her entourage.
You could literally have a scene where it's like her and Dazzler are friends.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing where it's just like, "Hey, Bay. Hey, Daz." And then walks
Or
out.
she's at an Avengers party and she just comes up and randomly hugs someone and leaves the way that she does, and everyone's like, "Was that Beyonce?"
In this world, Dazzler cut her from Destiny's Child.
Yes!
Wow.
She's the Kelly Rowland of the MCU.
And Kelly Rowland plays Dazzler. All right.
Kelly Rowland Connect. That's a true story.
I was thinking about this when you guys were pitching Uncle Ben, but I would just make him Keanu Reeves. Like, it's just
Uncle
his uncle.
Keanu.
His uncle was actually Keanu Reeves.
That's great. Anybody else got any ones?
I don't know. Anytime they do that, because it does happen in movies, sometimes it just pulls me right out.
Yeah,
Like,
their cameo stuff's weird. Like Tony Stark fist bumping with Elon Musk.
Yeah,
And like,
it's like it works in like a comedy. Like I still think like the Bill Murray cameo in Zombieland is like one of the funniest just like reveals of a movie. But if you're trying to like make me take your thing seriously or escape, like the minute you put in like a Beyonce, I'm like, that's.
I'm out.
That's where you're wrong.
Sorry, bad example. It's weird to throw
I think it was
in-
protected, like with the Beyonce, Dazzler thing. I think then it's okay because it's like building a world, but I completely understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
You know?
it's just a little off. But
If all of a sudden they're hanging out and Michelle Obama shows up and she's like, "Don't forget to eat your vegetables" or whatever, and then like leaves.
Yeah. Well, even that's even hard too sometimes. Where just the pop culture references can get challenging, right? Because it's like start naming enough movies or call enough people Squidwards or Legolas or whatever, and then you start connecting like, oh well, this person that's in this movie was in that movie. So then if you really want to go for it, it's like, okay, so let's Last Action Hero this. Like if Robert Downey Jr. was in that movie, but someone referenced it, like who played them instead? Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I guess then
my
like
nose bleeds.
Keanu, you couldn't be him because Point Break exists in that
Point Break
universe.
does exist in that universe.
That's right.
Because that
You have a
was
multiverse problem.
Yeah, it's called Point Break.
and that was also his
Unless
password.
Tom Holland says, "You ever seen that really old movie Point Break? My uncle was in it." Anyway.
That's it. That's the perfect way to get out of that.
Fixed.
And the perfect way to get out
But
of that.
then we have a dead Keanu in this universe. I don't want to live in a world with a dead
It's
Keanu.
the ultimate Uncle Ben moment. That way you don't have to do any more Uncle, because everyone has an Uncle Ben in their movie. Like someone's got to go, and like, but once it's Keanu, you don't have to do it ever again. The Avengers finally have something to avenge. And it's the idea of Keanu Reeves.
All right, so once again, we are Fandom Entertainment. Make sure to like and subscribe and obliterate that frickin' bell, says the producer. Thank you, boo. Fandom Uncovered is out. We're really excited about it. Check it out if you haven't yet. It is great. We sent some people. We sent Roth and our producer Max out to Forks to go to this large Disneyland for Twilight fans. It's amazing and it's very sincere, and it's a good chance to check out what different fandoms look like. So go check that out if you haven't already, and comment down below in that video what fandoms you would want to see explored. So do that. The link is in the description. And now, that's like a choir
bells.
bell.
That is like a gong.
Ryan's been trying out different bells.
We're trying something new,
We're
y'all.
trying new fits.
Yeah.
Walk it back.
All right, and now we have J.J. Abrams is writing a Spider-Man comic with his son. This is via the New York Times. J.J. Abrams and his son Henry will be writing a 5-part Spider-Man comic series that will introduce a new villain, Cadaverous, so like a dead body or something. So he says, here's the thing, we have written the Spider-Man comic.
Joe's having a moment right now.
You want to elaborate? Tell us about it, Joe. How you feeling?
Have your moment,
Oh, man,
dude.
I don't
Have your
know.
moment.
Like, J.J. Abrams' son definitely wanted to write a Spider-Man comic.
Yep.
And he was like, Dad!
Well, like I said, we were talking about this earlier.
I've got an idea!
This reminds me of all those times when you find out they're now, Joss Whedon's doing this great project, Joss Whedon's Dollhouse, Joss Whedon's, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and then it's not Joss Whedon, it's Jed Whedon. And this feels like one of those moments.
This is how I got my cat as a producer of movie fights. I was like, I'll come on and help, and now my cat has a credit in the description.
See?
Yeah, look, if I were a betting man, I would say JJ had very little, if anything, to do with this actual comic. So if you're interested in JJ's kids comic, great. But if you're like, oh, this is from the mind, I don't think it is. Not at all.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that it's... I don't know this person. So, I don't know. This might be really great ideas. It might be a really great story. It's just, it's... kudos for having the access and opportunity.
Right?
Yeah.
You did it.
Yeah.
You were born with the right dad.
Yeah, I don't know. To quote all of us for the entire episode yesterday, sorry I'm being cynical.
It's also like this happens like probably more frequently than people think in terms of like celebrities that end up writing like comics. Like CM Punk wrote, was it Fantastic Four or something?
I believe so. Yeah, no, and I'm going to skip, and we will come back to some of these. Are there any non-comic book creators that you would want to see aside from CM Punk?
Sure.
Take something on, and what would you like to see them take on?
Well, Henry Abrams, obviously. Sorry, I'm being shitty.
I love it
just being shitty.
because you are the most positive person on any panel. So to watch Joe just melt down due to nepotism is amazing.
Just bugs me. Something about
I would love to see like a really great filmmaker. I'm sure he's a good kid. I mean, you got the Abrams genes in you, so, or at least you have like the ultimate like editor to like, Dad, will you look at this before I embarrass myself?
Yeah, this is
JJ's not going to be like, I can't.
More puzzle boxes.
He's like,
you're not my son.
If it was terrible, he'd be like, neat, go put it on the fridge. Like, it goes right here. I would love to see.
Of Lost.
I like Lost.
I know.
But that's Lindelof also.
Yeah.
Abrams. You've derailed me 4 times.
This is great. We're gonna get there.
That's a Lindelof thing. If you're mad, you have to go to Cuse and Lindelof for that. But I thought it was great. I would love to see a great filmmaker that maybe do a passion project that they know they're just not going to get the money for to put on screen, but comics that are a medium where you can do a lot of things that you couldn't do. So like, this would never ever ever happen, but I would love to see like Christopher Nolan do. I mean, I guess maybe that's a bad example because he's at a point where they'll just give him the money to do his crazy
Take
thing.
my money.
Yeah, but or you know what? Maybe some of these movies that like they announced never happened.
Yeah.
We're never going to get to see it. I know people were like really thinking this was going to be Spider-Man 4. And while it's not something that I really need to see an adaptation of, I really would love to see what Burton had ideas for Batman 3, which then became Forever. Like, and I know that they toyed around with doing like a Burton-verse comic that would continue.
I understand that. It's kind of like
so
the
hard.
extension of the Buffy comics, after
Right.
Buffy
Yes.
ended, and then they had like, what was it, season 7 or season 8 in comic book form.
And they also did Frey, which was something, a spin-off.
I really enjoyed Frey.
I loved Frey, and that was a spin-off that they would never do on TV, but Frey happens in the future, and what happens is that Frey has a twin brother, and so the Slayer thing gets split between the two of us, so she gets all the powers, and he gets the leadership ability, and he's evil.
Yeah,
and
he's a
great.
baddie. It's
He's
awesome.
bad. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
For me, I think that I want Megan Amran. She is one of the writers on Parks and Rec. She's one of the writers of The Good Place. She just signed an overall deal to produce some more things. And I want her on a team book because she's proven that she's able to handle so many people at once and so many characters
She's
and
a
keep
real
it
good
balanced.
ensemble writer.
Yeah, and make it really fun. And so I want her either on X-Men, because she's got the heart and she could keep it light, or I want full-on wackadoo Great Lakes Avengers.
Ooh. Yeah.
Yeah, Great Lakes Avengers
picks.
it's a really funny book
exactly
about
what you think.
Yeah, it's exactly what you think.
That's exactly
It's the
what it is.
rejects of the Avengers, and it's really good and it's really funny, and we could get some really good puns in there because she's great at doing puns. So that's someone I would like to come in and do some comics.
Mine is inspired by Tyrese's run at writing or at overseeing his own comic book, which was fantastic.
Tyrese, Fast and Furious Tyrese?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. He has his own
The
comic.
Coca-Cola guy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it just like all about how he hates Vin Diesel?
Well, no, it was like a character, but it was like his
Rock.
likeness. But I want to do, based on that, I want a Fast and the Furious comic set in the universe, but Vin writes it.
Oh.
Vin, hell, let him draw it, let him whatever. I don't care. Like, as long as no one's allowed to be like, no. Like, as long as no one's allowed, it's pure, unadulterated Vin. So whether or not every issue, like The Rock's character, just dies like Kenny in South Park, I don't know. But that's what I want.
I just want to open that front page.
God.
It's like written by Vin Diesel, inks Vin Diesel, lettering Vin Diesel.
Vin Diesel.
Look, guys, there's something pure about Vin Diesel that I love. Well, Triple X. Or
Hey, I enjoy Triple X.
I love
did
Triple
too.
X. That Witch Hunter movie was like, I think based on
that,
yeah, it's like
yeah.
based on his D&D character. Like whatever.
The guy goes full nerd, and you gotta love that.
You gotta
Yeah,
love it.
let him draw a Fast and the Furious comic. I want to see where it goes. You could. Oh my God. You could even.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Have your moment. Have your moment.
Vin
Joe.
just got signed by Vertigo. My God. It's Carnage in the ring. He just hit the comics code with a chair.
Flaky croissant wedge.
All the humanity.
Okay, quick pin. If you've never heard the clip of Jim Ross, the My God Stone Cold guy from the 90s who called for WWE, he has a podcast, and one day he was shilling for Burger King for a while. And at some point, Burger King must have bought like a 2-minute ad and gave him 20 seconds of copy because it's Jim Ross just winging it for like 2 minutes talking about croissant witches. Seek it out. Anyway.
You played it for me like 2 years ago, and we sat there. I think we listened to it twice in a row.
Yeah. And then Billy played it for me, I want to say like 6 months ago because I hadn't heard it.
And credit where credit's due, Mike Carlson introduced it into my life, but it's just him, like, it's crazy. Anyway, let him do an Elseworlds Fast and the Furious that starts off right after the first movie. It's Fast and the Furious, how Vin imagined it before before all these other jerks came in and ruined his baby. But that's it. That's my project.
I would want to see some directors that I really respect to go into the comic book medium, like Ava DuVernay, because I mean she creates these amazing characters and gets these incredible actors to go with, and I would love to see if she would be able to do that in like a comic book form, a graphic novel form.
Well, she's such a cool visual director too.
Right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, gorgeous. I mean, she's got the eye, you know, she's got the everything, you know.
Yeah.
Like Wrinkle in Time was a lot of things, but what I will defend, like it visually, it's lovely. Like I think it's a very, very pretty movie.
Yeah, you
I
feel
watched
like
it. I was
you're-
like, why don't people like this? I like that.
I don't have any attachment to the book.
I didn't
Yeah.
feel like it was for me. I felt like it was for the people that were behind me. You know,
Yeah,
like
it's
as
for
you know, the
baby-
people
the
coming
kids,
up.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I like baby content.
That's what the
Said
bib
it's
is.
not me.
That's true.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But it's yeah, but like Lexi Alexander, I would love to see what she would do, like a graphic
her
novel.
Punisher take is
Right, Punisher Warzone.
outstanding.
It was
Love
like
that movie.
heads. I had
Punisher
fun.
doesn't talk for the first 25 minutes of that movie. He just walks up to people. He's like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna be like over the top crazy." It's great. I
Yeah,
love that movie.
it's
So
fantastic.
I think that would be such an entertaining graphic novel. And Sorry to Bother You, Boots Riley.
Boots Riley.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to see what he would do.
yeah.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
that would be something
what
else.
would his X-Men look like? That would be
Communist X-Men? I don't know, man.
Yeah,
it
that'd
would
be
be
something.
It would be like a real social, you know, like he makes some social commentary.
Yeah, it would be
like for
which-
real.
Get that out of my X-Men.
Yeah. X-Men shouldn't be political, actually. That's probably a bad idea.
Never political. All right, so speaking of the things that Billy likes, see, look at that segue.
Are we talking about babies?
What is
No,
this?
it's not babies.
Baby
No,
content.
it's
Pump
in
the
there.
brakes, Joe Starr.
So speaking of things that Billy likes and all of Billy's hot takes, Billy,
Why
it's
is-
in there, so
Why
we're
is this?
doing it.
Why are you sucking up to me by putting this in the script?
Do that between segments 2 and 3 now, Billy. It's part of the show.
It's
and you
part
were
of the
just a
show.
Part of the panel.
All
Yeah,
right. Well,
that's right.
I appreciate it. Podcast has been on hiatus because I just bought a house and been moving, and it's been crazy. But coming back, and Ed Greer's coming over on Sunday, and we're going to watch the Batman 4K and on the anniversary day, and then we're going to do a little special talk about Batman, because I can't get enough of those first 4. I know.
Nope, I'm right there with you.
But
I'm right there with you.
It's all 4. They are the cornerstones of probably why I like love all this stuff.
Oh, I've said on the show a few times, like my comic, where you were like, pick it up after Returns. I'd say, pick it up after Batman and Robin. Give me a comic that's full on. Nightwing has nipples. Everyth's blacklight paint.
But you know what?
Like,
the thing that's, and I don't want to get too much of a tangent. The thing that like drives me nuts is like Joel Schumacher even was like, I don't want to do Batman and Robin Part 2. I actually want to like really like get back to the root of like, he wanted to do essentially Batman Begins for Part 5. Like all the stuff that's out there about like Joel Schumacher, yes, he was an adult, he made those decisions, but a lot of it was coming from upstairs.
Oh yeah, toys.
Anyways, so we'll post that early next week. Just and Ed Greer is like Mr. Batman. There's very few people I know that are like an encyclopedia of all things Batman like Ed. So excited to talk about that.
Yeah, almost anytime you see him drawing something while he's doing things, it's Batman.
Yeah.
It's almost always Batman.
Which is a weird dichotomy, because I feel like the fans also know him as the guy that hates the Dark Knight. So,
but you know what? If he actually like wasn't movie fighting and he like laid out his reasons, like a lot of them make a ton of sense. It's just like in the heat of a movie fight, so you have to say ridiculous things.
Yeah,
yes.
You know,
just trying to win. I've had to go up against things that I truly love all the time and just make my mouth make words. Speaking of,
it's almost like that show's nonsense and silly. It's ridiculous, seriously.
It's almost like it's very silly. Speaking of sounds coming out of places.
The rankings show. Sorry, I've stepped on you like 4 times today.
You really
so sorry. He stepped on me. And it's a trickle down.
Let me run the show,
I'm
Billy.
sorry.
You are not producing.
This is why I don't get to come on anymore. Go ahead.
Well, because we have some fan questions from the community tab that I want to make sure that we get to at least 1 or 2 of these.
Yeah.
So, Save Mothra, get it? Save Mothra, says, what type of music do you prefer in movie soundtracks and scores? Also, just to follow up, like what makes a good soundtrack, a good score? Ooh. Do you have any favorites?
Yeah.
For me, one of my favorites, it's hard because when it comes to stuff where it's a bunch of pop songs put together, my favorite one of that is The Craft. Because that was a really good mix of a lot of covers, but then done by younger people, and it really captured the vibe of, we're spooky teenage girls. And so it felt like that.
Yep.
For just a song on a soundtrack, and I've said this on the internet a bunch, Porch from Infinity War is probably one of the most beautiful pieces of music I've ever heard. Okay. It is gorgeous. And then for writing, I know this is a cliche, but when I write, I really like listening to the Social Network soundtrack. Yeah, it just kind of like gets me going with its EDM.
I like that. Yeah. I'm listening.
Yeah, for my writing, I guess for me for soundtracks, I love for the soundtrack to embody the movie because it's like when I listen to it, I want to have the same experience like in an audio form of me doing a movie, like the feelings and everything with that. So like when I write or I'm creating in any way, I do the Amelie soundtrack because I absolutely love that. And there's one on there where it's actually a typewriter going so yeah, with that. Other soundtracks, I cannot remember the title of this movie, but this soundtrack has traveled through different iPods with me. It's John Cusack and Joan Cusack. Grosse Point Blank.
That's a great soundtrack.
I love that soundtrack. I mean, it fits so well with the movie. It's like it's like an art form to be able to do this. Recent soundtracks that I've enjoyed, the Booksmart soundtrack. I thought it was a little whimsical, kind of vulgar and dirty at the same time, which I liked. So yeah. I mean, if y'all haven't, check that one out. But mainly, I do video game soundtracks.
Yeah.
Like Ars Technica is a huge one. That's great. Zelda, Skyrim.
Yeah.
So that's where I live.
I'll usually have like either a Final Fantasy score or the Skyrim score playing somewhere.
Yeah.
This is a great collection of songs, like I think The Craft is, and that also nail the feel. But then I think there's also the inverse, where it's like, there's that one song on the soundtrack that you're like, that's the movie. And the big one to me is still the song I Still Believe on the Lost Boys soundtrack. That's the song that the shirtless dude's playing the sax to when they're at the weird party, the oiled up sax guy.
Sexy sax guy.
Yeah, sexy sax guy. I still believe that guy. So
just hip grinding.
That's a big one. Yeah, just hip grinding and like, yeah, that. There's just some movies get to cheat. Like sure, Ninja Rap is associated with Ninja Turtle, but that's so on the nose. But there's just some that just nail the feel so well. But I gotta go with Blade. First Blade soundtrack.
Yeah. Oh, it was. Rave room.
Oh,
the bloody rave room.
Yeah, if anybody ever pretends like, oh no, I just wasn't really into the Blade soundtrack, you're lying.
Yeah, you are a big liar.
Joe is calling
song
you out.
Of that, I am calling you out. I'm calling you out. That franchise, I think, doesn't get enough credit for combining like techno electronica DJs with hip hop artists, or at least for Little White Suburbs Joe. That was the first time I heard it, and I was just like, oh, this makes complete sense. Like, why did Busta Rhymes never work with the Chemical Brothers before? Like, you know, like that. Obviously, this is the
not
and
enough
obviously
fisheye lenses. That's why.
Right. Obviously, it took Wesley Snipes to bring those things together. Like,
obviously.
Yeah.
Sure. Look, in first Venom, clearly no.
Venom.
For soundtracks.
If you put a Southern drawl on them, it's worse. Sorry, I did it again, Billy.
And the Us soundtrack.
Ooh,
gorgeous.
Oh, yeah. For soundtracks with just like songs, I mean, obviously Batman Forever. I hate the movie, but the soundtrack for the '98 Godzilla, I think like was just
Come with me,
Puff Daddy.
I love it. I enjoy Godzilla.
I actually like. It wasn't until later I was like, why is this old band trying to rip off Puff Daddy? And then, like...
When was the first time you heard a song that he had sampled and you went, wait a minute?
It was actually... the first time that I was like, what is happening was... I don't even know the title of it. It's the real song that the Will Smith Men in Black song is. I heard it at a department store.
Yeah.
The hell is this Dollar Tree ripoff
of Forget-Me-Nots, right?
Yeah.
I think so.
And then my mom...
Clap.
I think it was with my mom, and she was like, oh no, like, all
That's
the songs
the
you
real
like of
song.
his, like, they're actually
all-
something else. I was like... Wild Wild West? I was like, no.
Like summertime.
We need to give you some more Stevie.
Yeah.
Even with like the Godzilla with the Green Day brain stew, I was so used to hearing the Godzilla roars in it that when I heard it on the radio, like,
You're like, where's Godzilla roaring?
Yeah, I was like, well, this is like incomplete. This is like a stripped down.
I told you about
unplugged.
the Brain Stew Project, right?
No.
Okay, second internet recommendation of the day. Okay. I don't know if it might still be up, but there was a Tumblr that was just a Tumblr dedicated to the Godzilla Brain Stew remix, where they just put the Godzilla roar into other songs and called them the Godzilla remix.
The Godzilla Remix Project?
Yes, the Godzilla Remix Project. Thank you.
Wow.
And it's so funny because it's just
gotta
one of those
love
great.
Godzilla.
It's
You
one of those
gotta.
great Pavlov bits where it just starts to train you, and so you're just waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting for like me and Julio down by the schoolyard, and then finally the Godzilla roar, and you're like, yes. And then after like 30 songs, they finally do Brain Stew, the Godzilla remix, which is just the Godzilla remix of Brain Stew with more.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we're going to end on this one, but this is a perfect place to end this one. Are there songs that are so tied into a movie that, like, if you hear the song, you can't not think of that movie? For me, those are Iris by Goo Goo Dolls, Forest City of Angels.
Yeah.
He's like, why would you do that? Why would you do that? She's like, why?
Put your hands on the bars, lady.
Look at the road. Oh my God.
That one plays in grocery stores a lot, and I like it on my grocery cart.
And then the other one is, and I'll be careful with the title here, it's Peaches' Frolic the Pain Away from Lost in Translation. Which was me and one of my exes, that because that was our first date, that was considered our song. We can.
Well done.
Because I always think of Jackass when I hear that song.
Oh, see?
It's crossed over into very different streams.
I don't like this necessarily. Well, I like this movie, but I always think of Royal Tenenbaums now with "Hey Jude," and I think that's when he lets Mordecai go. Is to just the Hey Jude. It's like an orchestral Hey Jude, but I always think of that. What are some other ones?
Yeah, I know it's difficult. I've got one that I definitely know. I Need a Hero, Johnny Five.
Yep.
Where it's like, and like for the longest time, you know, when I was a kid, I was like, I'd hear that song and I'd start tearing up because it's like Johnny Five.
Oh, he's alive.
Yeah, he's alive. And another one would be, what's their name? Crossbones and Harmony.
Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Bone.
Crossroads. I mix it all together.
Frank Grillo trying to sing.
Bound, bound, bound. See you at the crossroads. That's Lethal Weapon. No. I'm mixing everything together.
It's okay.
It's so hard to say goodbye to Yesterday by Boyz II Men from Lethal Weapon. I always think of that movie with that song. But also Crossroads by Bone Thugs and Harmony is very nice.
I think about Crossroads once a day just because.
I need more tea.
I can't think of the song Mortal Kombat without thinking about the movie Mortal Kombat.
You have to.
I think for me it's Steelers Wheel, Stuck in the Middle. Whenever you hear that like on the radio, there's just now a sinister vibe attached to it because of Reservoir Dogs.
Anytime I hear the song Maniac, I think of Chris Farley dancing in Black Sheep while David Spade hoses him off. No, that's Tommy. Is that Tommy Boy or Black? That's Black Sheep.
It could have been any of them.
Well, he hoses him off and he's like, "Did you eat paint chips when you were a kid?" Because he's just like, "I'm a maniac." Yeah, that makes me sad. Yeah, I'm just a downer.
I think
now.
also Gangster's Paradise will always get a chuckle out of me because it's tied into that Michelle Pfeiffer teacher.
Oh my God, where she comes in the video, she turns her chair the wrong way and it's like, you got something you want to talk about?
Oh,
it's so good.
It's just it's like it was dated a month before it came out.
Yes. It was predated.
I took a look at my life and realized there's nothing left.
Okay.
And there's no more of the show left either. Thank you so much.
Great.
I want 4 more.
Real titles this time.
Gotta wrap it up because all right, give me 2 of them.
God Made Rock and Roll for You, Bill and Ted.
Yes.
God gave rock and roll to you.
God gave.
Part 2 by Kiss.
Kiss fan. Gotta give it to him.
And then Can't Hardly Wait soundtrack, the one where the kid
Whole
is...
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, the whole thing.
Paradise
Excellent
City.
soundtrack. Paradise City, I always think of Can't Hardly Wait.
That's great. That kid. Where did he go? He keeps leaving and then coming back to us. Thank you, Brick Hendrickson. I'm so sorry if I messed this up, but there's a lot of vowels and stuff. But thank you so much for that question. You guys, Fan Friday posts will be up on the community tab after Ryan eats lunch and calls his mom. Why do you give us so many details?
I wanted to be honest, I just put it up now, though, because that would make more sense. So
Okay. So it's up now, but Ryan didn't call his mom yet, so now I
Call your mom.
Call your mom, Ryan. So make sure you post your fan questions for tomorrow's show. Make sure they're all about Ryan's mom. We've got a movie fights today. It is a pre-tape because we wanted to make sure, because we're continuing that Dan gauntlet. So it's going to be Dan versus 2 returning favorites.
Can we not say who?
We're not gonna. I think we want to keep it a surprise, but y'all are going to be super stoked about
It's weird.
this.
It's super
It's weird. It's definitely weird. So y'all
Super
are going to be
weird.
really happy about that. It will be up at the normal time. We will see you tomorrow. Don't forget to come back. Okay, bye.